Hi, everybody. You're very welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen. I make videos about the law. And this evening, we have a really special guest who's going to talk to us about his life and how he found me, and also about his particular interest in data protection and all of that, and academic study and SIPI, but I'm not going to spoil it. I love doing these kind of things where I get to talk to people who I've assisted in the past and see where they're at. So if you're interested in sharing your story as well with other law heroes, just like Mateo's doing tonight, please hit me up on Instagram like he did, or email me, because I think it's really nice when people volunteer their story and they want to help other people. And that's what Law Hero is all about. It's trying to help other people, and sometimes people have a different experience to me, just like Mateo did. So, yeah, without further ado, Mateo, would you start off by giving us your background, how you came here, and then how you found me?
Thank you for the nice introduction, Jennifer. Well, where to start? So around like 2016, once I heard about data protection and that the GDPR was in plans and everything, I was always dreaming on specializing in that. I found that I really liked that area of the law. Originally, I'm a lawyer in Bolivia, so I was always trying to go to a place where I could specialize in that, and I was trying until I finally got a scholarship to come to DCU to study a master program that is data protection related. It's called the MLDI, and yeah, that's in short how that's my story, how I got here into Europe in short. And well, from there it was basically another chapter, you know, starting from zero, just knowing the people from my class. Around that time I was looking for lawyers that were talking about data protection and how to get into the law in Ireland, and that's how I got into Jennifer. That's how I got to know her. Then I started following her tips, and when I was starting to look for internships in Dublin, that's when I decided to speak with Jenny, and I had sent her a text and asked her if she could give like some advice of how things were here in Ireland. The cultural thing was the main thing I was trying to get out of that conversation. And I remember she gave me some really good tips. The biggest one, I think it was you have to start building your network because you're from zero here. So kind of like start interacting with people that you think that post things that you find interesting, and of course in the area. So I started doing that, and around May of this year, I got an internship at a company called Symmetry, and that works with data protection and AI governance. And since that moment, I've been working there. I finished my internship. It was 3 months, like from May to September, and luckily I'm still working there remotely. So yeah, in short, that was that's the my journey here. But of course, like in between, a lot of things happen. Yeah, another thing. Right now, I'm in Spain because the program I'm studying has this semester abroad. So I moved from Dublin just for this semester, but I'm coming back.
Yeah, I'd say Spain is better. Well, not with the floods, but
Yeah, if you go to south, but yeah, the weather, the prices are nicer, but
prices
a lot
are
of things.
better.
Yeah, but Dublin has a lot of nice things as well.
Yeah, that's true.
It
I do remember the cultural bit actually, now that you say it, because I do get a lot of Brazilians as well and Mexicans, and that is something they also mention. It's that they find it difficult to, I suppose, it was like when I went to Germany, it was maybe the humor or the after work scene is different, or the small talk is different, and it's not even the language. It's almost like a feeling, it's something intangible. And it's only when you spend a prolonged amount of time in a place that you understand what the difference is. So yeah, I always feel for people who are coming from abroad, because I was in that situation too, and it can be very, very lonely if you're not able to make those connections quickly. But thankfully you were able to do that, and I think that's what ultimately got you the internship, because you just started to, get to know people and know where to go and know what companies were relevant, and asking for help is sometimes quite difficult, especially for lawyers, because we're A-type personality and we like to do everything ourselves. But it doesn't work all the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'd love to know more about your masters, but I guess that's not really why we're here, because yeah, I mean, we could talk about your masters lots, but I think most people would be very interested to know. And I think I want to know as well, like, so you're obviously trained as a lawyer in Bolivia. Um, how did you make the jump from, well, you can tell us what kind of law you practice in Bolivia to European data protection, because that's a big jump, even theoretically. So how did that happen?
Wow. I was at a point in Bolivia where I felt kind of like bored. Not, I wouldn't say stuck, but I was kind of like bored. I was doing corporate law, mainly commercial law, corporate law. Um, then I was in a point where, I had already a firm with two partners. So we were like already running. But then I saw myself, like I saw some lawyers that were like 5 years ahead of me, 10 years ahead of me, and I saw myself going in that direction, and I was like, no, no. And then I saw like in 2015, 16, data protection was like a huge topic, and I was following, and I was like, no, this is it. Like the more I read about it, I really found passion for that topic. So that was like the main thing that pushed me to, I was applying because of course like the economic aspect was the main part. So I was applying to scholarships basically, and I wouldn't get like the one I was looking until finally, like after many tries, I got this one, the MDI, and yeah, that's why I decided to, bet all in this, and I'm on the.
I have a similar story. I never set out to, oh, I'm on mute. Whoops. So yeah, I never set out to practice data protection or privacy or anything like that. I'm kind of like you. I come from a commercial background, but as the years passed on, I saw that particularly for in-house, and when you're dealing with like retail data and customer facing, you have to, it's a skill you have to have. If you don't have it, you will be left behind, especially the way data is being mined. Like if you look at AI, the rise of AI, and even AI governance, I think is then the natural progression. I was talking to my boss today, and he said, the SIPI is fine, but now you need to kind of move on to AI governance, because it's the natural follow on. And I'd know you would have views on that. But yeah, I was the same. And I think what it is you're coming from, it's like a pyramid. You're coming from a very broad base of commercial knowledge. And then, okay, you can specialize in technology in a law firm or whatever. But I personally think to be in industry is where you learn the most practical knowledge of law. And that's probably where you're at in your internship. So do you want to kind of tell us about the internship then? So you've gone from private practice to this very specific role in like almost like a consultancy. So that must be really different.
It is. It is. It's funny because I joke around with friends and be like, yeah, being a consultant, it's like many levels of like less stressful than being a lawyer. Like in so many levels, less stressful. I think because usually lawyers, like the client would come when there's like something wrong already has happened. So they're already stressed. You already have like short time. And in consulting, they're like happy. They're like, oh, we have this project that we want to work. How can we make this? So, in that sense, I found it like less stressful. And I'm really enjoying this other side of like being a professional. It's not, it's being a consultant. So it's, we are also like acting as external DPO for companies. So, I get to see that. And like you say now, I come from being like in a very broad like area of practice. I mean, commercial law can be very broad as well. But then now I work mainly on data protection and starting to work on AI governance things. And I really like the being like specialized in an area and dominate that area and like work mostly in that. I'm coming to really enjoy this, and that this has even kind of like changed my view a little bit. Now I mean, I was always from the mind of like you have to specialize in something, but now I think like I have that mind, but like even stronger. Like I really understand like how important it is to be a specialized. Like how I see some professionals in the area that are truly like specializing in specific fields, even in data protection, can be too broad if you think about it. Like there's people that specialize, like for example, in cross-border transfers. There's people that are gonna be specializing now in how to make that work with AI, with the regulations that are coming. Today I saw the product liability directive reform that was published. So like it's many things that are coming. And what you're saying that what your boss and you were talking about, that it's going like the CP and it's very like related with the AIGP or like AI governance. I believe so. I think they are really interconnected, and it's important to get a good idea of both.
And it just goes to show you're never finished learning. Like if technology's not sleeping, we're not sleeping. And like this is the thing, I feel like a lot of law students, they think, okay, I do my exams, I get qualified for the bar, okay, I do a bit of CPD here and there, and it's just not enough. I think it's not enough if you want to be really close to technology. It just isn't enough.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, okay. Let's move on, right? So, okay, we've kind of touched on SIPI, we've kind of touched on the AIGP, but let's take a step back. So, I guess my first question is, do you think a specific certification is needed for data protection, or can you practice in it and then do it? Or what do you think is the right way to approach being a data protection practitioner?
Well, I think that it really depends in your particular case. I wouldn't say that you need certifications, for example. Like I wouldn't claim that, you need to get CIPP, CIPM in order to. I think it can be really helpful, but it also depends a lot of like where are you working, a lot as well as your network. Like for example, if you can get a door open to be able to work with data protection and get the opportunity to like do an internship, you don't really. I mean, if you don't need the CIPP to if that's your case, right? If you have that network, then you don't really need it. So I think that it really depends on your position. In my position, I thought, well, I really don't have a network here, so like anything that can give me a little push or like be like more noticeable, I'll take it. But that was in my position. Like I think if I would have like a different like a background, I probably wouldn't be that. But on the other hand, I think that it does help you. I think that it gives you like maybe some credibility, but it's not essential. Like I wouldn't dare to say that it's essential, but yeah, it gives you it gives other people kind of like a sense of like that you have proved yourself, like, or something, maybe in that way. Yeah
I'd agree with that. It's like social proof that you have a benchmark of knowledge. But then again, you could be practicing in it for 15 years and not have the certification. It's strange.
Exactly.
I do notice though the multinationals, like any big multinational I've seen who are hiring for a privacy role, they have it as a stipulation for in-house counsel. So
on the nice to have or on the should have?
Should have.
On the should have.
Yeah.
It just made me remember a post I saw the other day. It was like on a job posting, and it was like on the should have a winning record with the ICO. I just thought that was super funny. Okay.
Isn't the ICO very conservative?
They are. So I saw a lot of people saying, "Who has one?" Like,
that's kind of impossible, isn't it?
yeah, and it
Um,
was like, yeah. So I just thought it was funny. Like sometimes
that's
like companies
that's an
would,
organization who is completely out of touch with
yeah,
reality and are trying to do soft regulation.
well,
They're trying to get around they like that like yeah, if you think of any of the terrible data breaches or like not putting in a privacy notice, like I'm thinking of the Twitter Grok chatbot thing uh,
uh-huh.
that ends up in the CJEU. Whoever that recruiter is going to end up in the CJEU with some class action data protection group after them because that's what they're basically saying. They're saying we are trying to get around privacy laws. Can you help us? Yeah,
Basically, yeah.
I would stay clear
Well,
though. Okay, so Sippy, right? You
CP.
when did you start studying for it, and when did you actually do it, and how did you find it?
Okay, so kind of like right after I spoke with you, I think it was last year, like September, probably somewhere around that. Because this master started in September. So as soon as I got here, I was like, okay, I need to start working. Like I was trying like to see how to make my path basically. So I was looking. I didn't even know about the CP or the AIPP. Just started to find out. A classmate told me about the AIPP actually. We started digging. I came to the conclusion that this could potentially help me. So the best. So I decided that I was gonna take the CIPP kind of like in December last year, and I bought the exam with three of my classmates. We kind of like decided we're gonna do this together, one day together, pressed by everyone. We did it. We're committed now. So everyone had to go back to their countries for Christmas. So we were studying each of us in their own country at their own pace December. Then we come back to Dublin in January, and then we had 2 months because actually we had a month and a half because classes would start kind of like in February. So we rushed it. We studied like every week. We did a chapter together. We kind of like assigned, okay, you'll do chapter one, I'll do chapter two. And that meant that that person would give like a class of the chapter and everyone would ask the questions. That was really helpful. Like when I was taking the exam, sometimes you remember like the line of the book you read. In this part, I was remembering the discussion. So that was super helpful for taking the CP. And yeah, I mean, it was like 2 months of intense studying. Then we took it. Luckily, everyone passed it. Like we all passed it on the first one. And the other tip I would give is take as many practice exams as you can. Like we got up to like 6 practice exams. We bought like one official practice exam. Then we found like two books that had like 4 exams or like 3 exams each, something like that. So we took as many just to give us like a sense of security. And after that, everyone did good. So I would advise that study groups that they work.
Yeah, I had a totally different experience.
how
Like
was how was yours, Jenny?
it was just awful. So yeah, I decided to do it kind of the same time as you. Kind of like January 2024. Yeah, this year as one of my New
Mm-hmm.
Year's resolutions. So we get a bursary from where I work to put towards study.
Mm-hmm.
So, and basically it has to suit everybody. So it has to be aligned with the strategic goals of the company. So obviously for us as selling cars to consumers in the future, directly, that makes a lot of sense for the business. So that was step one, was to get that signed off, and I did. I was very arrogant about my GDPR knowledge. And I say arrogant, I was like, oh, come on, like, it's not going to be NIS 2 as well. It's not going to be case law as well. Like, there's no way. It's just going to be GDPR. And then, of course, I sat it in July and I got 292. And it was very embarrassing because I I didn't put in the work I should have. And
Mm-hmm.
like I hadn't done the practice exams. I hadn't like bought the proper
Mm,
materials. And as well, and I suppose it comes back to your point about you remembered what your friend said. I didn't have that point of reference at all.
mm,
So when I failed it, the day I failed it, I bought the repeat on the same day, even though I was like, oh, I don't want to do this ever again. So I put away everything for like 2 weeks and I was like, okay, first week of August, I'm going to spend 8 weeks studying for it. So till the end of September and then take it in October. And yeah, I just approached it in a completely different way. And when I say different, what I mean is way more practice exams.
mm.
I actually read the full GDPR for the first time.
Congrats, congrats. That is an achievement.
And like I actually will like if you ask me any article now, I remember it, but I didn't do that the first time around. So like there were some articles in it which I was like, oh, not really sure. Like if you asked me what it was, I wouldn't have known. Whereas the second time round, I knew it like so well. And the other tip I have is the glossary on the IAPP website. I knew the
Mhm.
full glossary.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas the first time around, I didn't even know there was a glossary.
Yes, so you were clearly overconfident on your first try.
I was overconfident. Then I did way more work the second time round, which I think was a good thing because it humbled me. And I think for the next IAPP certification I do, I won't underestimate it the way I did the first time.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good, you know. There are never losses, just lessons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was saying that to myself on the day. Okay. So I guess my next question then is, so has it influenced your day to day? And like or not? Or have you noticed confidence or since you've gotten it, has it changed anything or do you think it will change anything?
Like about the CP?
Yeah.
Mm, no, I wouldn't say like. I mean, no. The day like I would lie if I would say that I wasn't like super proud like the next day of classes after like I was like the CHP and I would I mean it was super nice, right? But I mean it just lasts that there. Like then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like no. I mean what it really like actually what I realized once on my first month, top second month of the internship, take in mind that I had already the CIPP. So on my first day, I was like, give me everything. Like I have the CIPP, I can with everything. Couldn't be like more foolish. I realized that the gap from the theory to the practice is so huge. I mean, it's gonna take me at least 2 years, like for me to actually be able to look people in the eye and be like, yeah, I'm a GDPR expert. No way, right now. I'm like still learning, and the gap is huge. I realize it every day. Like I learn a little bit more. I just speak with some of the seniors of the company, and then I just realize like how much is still for me to realize in the practical aspect, like how
Yeah.
to solve things. So many things are not in the GDPR at all. Like it's just many more like things besides like looking at cases, looking at many guidelines that authorities are gonna publish. Yeah, and going back to the comment that you were saying about how like lawyers have to keep like updating, I would have to say that what a civil lawyer, for example, has to keep updating hasn't doesn't compare to what like
No.
tech lawyers or like people in this area. This is times 10, like what you have to
Yeah.
keep updating. It's crazy. Really.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like even the amount of stuff that like the EDPB put out and all
Yeah.
the new like judgments from the ICO super and like the
Mm.
CJU, keeping on top of it's really difficult. And that like I don't envy that job that you have. I'm lucky in my organization, I have the human shield of a data protection manager. So
Oh.
I assist him like and he obviously looks after a lot of the practical side of things and I'm almost like like a second opinion on things rather than being the person who's managing the data. I think that's a very difficult job if you don't know what you're doing. and you can mess up a lot. So
Yes.
I think being a lawyer sometimes is easier that because we're not actually managing the data.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see it.
no, but I hear you. Like there is a lot to keep up with. Okay, so we talked about the SIPI, we talked about studying, and you explained like there is a gap. There is a gap between like knowledge and then actually applying the knowledge, which is very true. Okay, let's then take a step back then and just talk about like now that you're doing your master's and you have this consultancy gig, like where do you see your career going? Or do you think, because I have a feeling that a lot of us millennials, we're going to have this thing called like a mosaic career where it's not just going to be the same thing for 20 years. There's going to be bits and pieces here and there. So do you feel like that's going to be it, or do you think you'll stick with data for a while?
Oh, I think I mean I will stick with data because I don't think it's going anywhere. Like it's still gonna be very very important, and I would like to kind of like go into the direction of AI governance as well. So that's kind of like where I'm aiming. Yes, but you know, as you say, that it's so evolving. Who knows where, for example, like in some years from now. So that's also something I'll have to consider. But yeah, I would stick to data, to that and AI.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would be the same as you. I'm very interested in AI and I try and talk about it whenever I can. Um, and then sometimes I feel a little bit strange about it because have you read Nexus by Yeah, so I'm reading that at the moment and I'm starting to feel a bit strange about AI again. I go up and down. So basically, like I love new technology a bit like yourself. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I got really into crypto, like really into the law. I even wrote an article about how I didn't think crypto was going to survive or was going to take off. And I've been partially wrong about that. But as regards the law never really kept up. Like even in Europe, the law never really kept up to what crypto was supposed to be. And that meant that then that you didn't get the buy-in from everybody. And if you don't have the buy-in from everybody, it doesn't work. Okay. Whereas AI is a little bit different because you are getting the buy-in from everybody. And it's accessible and it's usable and the use cases are so plentiful that I think it's a better horse to back than crypto in terms of legal um, advice. I think it's a safe bet almost, especially the governance piece, because they're going to need people who have this knowledge.
Yes, yes, I agree. That's gonna be a knowledge that's gonna be highly valuable. I think it's starting to become, and it will keep like being very valuable. And yes, I agree as well with the affirmation that AI is it's gonna be like way bigger than crypto is and has been, and maybe even will be. Like you say, I think everyone is embracing AI. Now the main issue is gonna be how the different main kind of like what's the word I'm looking for, like potencies, or like
Potential.
the US, but like the US could be like one, Europe could be the other, and China like could be the other. Kind of like going back like to the book, like to
Mm.
Nexus, for example. I just can't find the word, but like you know what I mean, right? Like the kind of like the oh my god, I cannot find the word for this, but so basically the American model of like regulating AI versus the Chinese model of like regulating technology versus the human rights approach of the EU,
Yeah.
and how that is going to resolve, I think it's going to be fundamental. But I also believe that Yuval Harari is a little bit alarmist on his book.
Yeah.
So at the end, it kind of like makes you like a little bit like scared, like of the things that can turn out to be, which I don't think the world, like by the way regulations are going, like the way that regulations are currently looking, I don't think a catastrophic scenario, kind of like Yuval Harari says, could happen. But yes, if the countries don't kind of like align in data protection laws and AI regulations, it's going to be very challenging for these companies. And we'll see how the powers kind of like lean on what side, because especially with Trump's
Yeah, I was just thinking
appointment
that.
of that protection framework. Whoa, I don't see many months of
No,
survival after he takes the seat.
no, and like that's what it comes back to. It's a geopolitical thing, and law just
Mm,
facilitates politics, and that's the thing we keep forgetting as lawyers. That is aspirational and as moral and ethical, and we try and protect people. At the end of the day, it comes down to the politicians and their legislative decisions. So, and I think you're right. I think it will become a bit of a bloodbath because we're going to be stuck between China and the US, like we always are, like the middle child, trying to reduce calamity, try and reduce tension, try and protect people's human rights, because that's all that the EU stands for. And always, well, not always since the 1940s, but like,
mm.
yeah, it's so interesting how it's going to go. Yeah, I think I could talk to you all day about all that kind of stuff because yeah,
Yes,
I
this
think
is a very interesting topic.
it's
Yeah,
kind of nerdy stuff. But yeah, I only started the first chapter of the book, so
yeah. I didn't want to spoil many more
you
things, but
already ruined it for me. But like,
a little bit, a little bit. No,
yeah, no, I
I
can
didn't.
tell.
I,
I can tell what the way he is. It's like doom, 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 and that's how he makes you want to read more.
yes, yes. Tell me, he has to sell the books.
Yeah, he has to sell the books, and like misery loves company. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I think a lot of people will find inspiration in your story, because it is difficult to move continent and start like I know you're not really starting again, but you kind of are.
Yeah,
Are.
I feel so. I feel so. I feel so. Like I feel like finishing the bachelor and like starting kind of like from the internship, like, but with a lot of like experience in the back. So that's helpful.
Yeah, 2024 was a big year for you, I feel like.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
it's just onwards and upwards. But thank you so much. And I can't wait to share this. And I hope other people want to share their stories because, yeah, I think it's a lovely format. And it's good for me as well to get other perspectives because I'm sick of saying my opinion. I want to hear yours.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Thank